Welcome everybody. Welcome to another Exalate webinar. Thank you for joining. All the attendees coming in now. Welcome everyone. Hey, I'll just let more people come in. How you all doing? Pop in the chat. Whereabouts you're from, which country you're calling in from. See the attendee list is rising and rising. So thanks all for joining. Hello, welcome. Some familiar names. We've just got a poll that's come up on the screen now. It'd be really interesting. We can't see you guys. We want to know who we're talking to. So yeah, if you could enter the poll, it'd be really interesting to see what you do. I see some answers already. What you guys do, yeah, what you're focused on, these types of things is great. And then head over to the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. It's always an international affair with Exalate, of course, an international business. Likewise on this webinar, of course. India, good evening then, definitely. Good evening from India. I think probably some good mornings and good afternoons as well. Awesome. Hey, India as well. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for popping it in the chat. So a lot of Salesforce as well so far. So we're not Nigeria. Hey, good afternoon. We'll just wait a moment or two longer. I see that the attendee list is rising. Malaysia, Pakistan, Switzerland. Awesome. It's making me want to go on holiday. Nice. We'll keep it all coming in. We'll just wait a few more moments. I know we're only a minute or two in so far. Keen to keep track of time, of course. From the Philippines, again from Nigeria. Hi, guys. Welcome. So yeah, the poll's on the screen. Use the chat as well. It'd be great to hear more from you guys throughout the session before we just kick things off. So I think we can pretty much get started. We're a couple minutes in. So yeah, guys, keep it coming in the chat as you're joining. I see we've got a few more joining. So post which country you're from, fill out the poll. Be really interesting to see who we have on the call with us as well. And from Turkey, good evening from India, Belgium. Hey, all right. Okay, cool. I will end the poll and perfect. And yeah, we can have a look here and share those results. Awesome. So very interesting. So I'll stop that share if you see that on your screen, and then I'll get rid of it on my screen and we can make a bit of a start with the chat. So welcome to this webinar from Exalate on how to set up a Salesforce and Jira integration with AI simple powered code. So thanks all for joining. Some familiar names. Thanks for coming along and supporting as well. So first of all, we're going to go through a brief agenda. Run through some housekeeping rules as well. So I think you've all used Zoom before, hopefully, or you've gone to webinars before. So yeah, if not, welcome to the first webinar. We've got the chat box, which you're using already, so keep that coming. We've got the polls as well, which have had one. We'll have a few more throughout the session as well. And then, of course, we've got the Q&A. So if you have specific questions, technical questions, these types of things, pop them in the Q&A. We want to take those and add them a little bit later. And we, as you see it on the agenda, the last point, we're going to dive into those specifically. So yeah, please pop them in the Q&A tab, specific questions, and we'll take care of them. So to run through the agenda briefly, so why do we need integration in the first place? We're going to shed a bit of context there. We're going to go through some use cases, which we're going to cover in depth, as you can see in that AI part of the demo later on, which we're all very excited to get into. But first, then after that, we'll show you how to set up a Salesforce Jira integration. And then, as I say, we'll jump into those demos. We'll jump into the real life use cases in action with AI live on the webinar with you today. Last but not least, of course, we're going to get into those questions, and we've got those questions pasted from the Q&A tab to get into at the end too. So you're probably wondering who these two handsome chaps are joining me in the session today. Very lucky to have them here. Syed Majid Hassan. I work with Majid on a day-to-day basis, and we implement projects with UK government, Santander, JLL, all the rest. And I think we're on about 400 with a few years been working together already. So pleasure to have him here. Majid doesn't only take Exalate to new heights, but he also takes his family to new heights. He recently went on the trip of a lifetime. I saw a picture of him at the base camp of K2 or something like this. It's a shame there's no Wi-Fi up there because it would have been a pretty cool place for a little video call. I don't think there'd be any virtual background needed at all. So awesome. Thanks, Majid. And Usman on the right of Majid as well. Now, he's everything AI here at Exalate. He joined us in our last webinar where he showcased Ada, Exalate's AI sidebot documentation tool. I think we'll put a link in the chat so you guys, if you haven't seen her already, and yes, Ada is a she, our AI bot. But we're not here to focus on that today. We're here to focus on AI within the product, and Usman's going to take us through that a little bit later as well. So I'll let the guys say hello and introduce themselves a bit too.
Thank you so much, George, and hi, everyone. And thank you for reminding me of that wonderful vacation. Yes, it was a trip of a lifetime indeed. I think I should reciprocate here and introduce George as well. So George is an integration consultant here at Exalate. And yes, we've worked around 3 years together here, and we've set up hundreds of these projects in production now. He just rolled some names off the top of his head, but yeah, there've been many, many, many more. George hails from London and supports his beloved Tottenham Hotspurs. Fun fact about him is that he's already been to 21 countries at his tender age. And no, I won't be revealing his age, don't worry. I'll let Usman say hello.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so my name is Usman. I'm here at Exalate for about 1.5 years, I think. And indeed, I also joined the previous webinars, but I was also showcasing some fancy AI stuff. I'm very delighted to be here presenting this webinar with these two fellows. So yeah, back to you, George.
Thanks, Usman. Cheers. And yes, Majid, unfortunately, old enough to have never seen Tottenham win a trophy, but we won't focus on that. So back to the agenda, integration. Why is it important? Why are we here? So within your businesses, different tools, they use different teams rather, use different tools, right? And those tools serve different processes and services for the business, right? So these tools have different workflows and different processes, as I mentioned. Integration is about allowing those two tools to coexist and sort of speak the same language within your organization, and allows that collaboration between different teams in your business. So a short intro into why integration. That takes us into quite nicely, what is Exalate? In fact, why are we all here? Well, Exalate is a decentralized integration app to integrate between your ITSM platforms in a seamless and limitless way, really. So, Majid, I'll let you tell a bit more.
Sure. I think everyone in this day and age has dabbled into integrations at some level, right? So you would have come across integrations at some level in your jobs or professional lives or whatever. What makes Exalate really stand out in this space is the flexibility that it offers you, right? And that flexibility stems from a scripting engine, which is built into the core of the product. So if you can script a use case, yeah, you can get it done. Now, couple that with the power to generate scripts using AI, and you have an absolute beast at your hand, which can tailor any bespoke integration. That's where really the power comes in from. To build up on what George was saying, the tool inherently is decentralized, which means that it gets installed on both sides. And this also introduces a layer of security into the entire setup. Each admin, like a Jira admin or a Salesforce admin, would only have access to his side of the integration and could only make changes there. So inherently becomes secure.
Awesome. Nice. So we're going to quickly cover the use cases, as we did mention in the agenda as well. So let's get into the first one that we'll demonstrate shortly with Majid and Usman. So this is all about collaboration and efficiency between two teams. This is our typical support with Salesforce, the support tool, and then the Jira and the development team, and closing that gap between those two teams. So cases being created and then bugs being created in Jira, of course, and keeping those in sync. The second use case is all about visibility and user creation, right? So closing that gap between the two tools to have a good understanding from Salesforce to see what's happening within Jira Service Management, JSM. Awesome. So Majid, over to you to set up a Jira and Salesforce integration.
Thank you so much, George. Right, so how we'll take the next part of the webinar is that we'll build a Jira Salesforce integration from scratch, essentially. We'll build a basic use case, and then we'll add on to those as George mentioned. Right, so to kick it all off, I have a Salesforce instance out here. Now, as I said, Exalate gets installed as an app from the App Exchange, so you can just install it, and it's already open out here. On the Jira end, similarly, you need to install the app from the Atlassian Marketplace. Fairly painless process, all automated. And once the app is installed, it'll give you this admin menu, which I was speaking about, that only the particular Jira admin would have access to this side. He wouldn't know about the Salesforce side of things. Right, so once you have the tool installed on both sides, now let's create a connection between the two systems. So for that, all I need is the base URL of my target system. So I'm sitting in Salesforce and I initiate a connection towards my Jira instance, this particular one. We choose script. Now, the next screen is just providing some user-friendly names to the two systems. I'm just going to call them Salesforce and Jira. Now, this initiates a handshake that is going towards Jira, but the connection is not yet complete. It generates an invitation code, which you can copy and pass on to the Jira admin. The assumption here being that you have zero access to the Jira site, right? So the Jira admin, at his convenience, comes into his system and accepts the invitation by plugging that code in. The Jira admin would be asked to nominate a target project, and I hope this part is fairly intuitive. So what Exalate is asking you here is to nominate a Jira project, which will be used to park all the issues that are coming in from Salesforce. So we choose a project out here and we confirm. And that should be it. Our connection should be set up, it should be active, and it should already be working. Now, before I go into the nitty-gritty of how this works and the configuration aspects of it and all that, I want to show you how the tool actually looks and feels like and what it does. So for that, we'll start off the support development use case that George was describing. So the support is being handled as cases on Salesforce. And some of those cases need to be sent over to the Jira side, right? So let's start by creating a case object, first of all, in Salesforce. I'll start off with a very straightforward, basic example. Right, so my case object is now created. Now remember, we haven't really configured any automations or anything like that so far. So that means that in order to push this ticket across to the other end, you can do it via this Exalate panel by manually clicking a button and choosing the connection. And we will automate this part shortly, right? But regardless of how you do this initial push, the end result remains the same. Exalate goes and tries to create a ticket on the target Jira. If successful, it'll provide you a ticket number. And this is actually a hyperlink. You can just click and that should open it. That should open the corresponding ticket on the Jira side as long as you have access to Jira, of course. I'm just going to move this here for clarity. Right, so what happens from here on in? What happens from here on in is that any changes you make out here, so let's say you make a comment, and let's just say you change the description. So I've added the word here to my description and added a comment. Right, what Exalate does now is that because it knows that this ticket is linked to a Salesforce case, it picks up this data and moves it across to the corresponding Salesforce case. I'm just going to quickly refresh it, and you see that my comment has already arrived. And in fact, the username of the person who made the comment is also within the body of the comment. And the other change I made was to the description, and that's already arrived as well. And this kind of flow goes both ways. So if I update the subject of the ticket, or if I make other updates on the Salesforce side, they should automatically be reflected on the corresponding Jira ticket. So that's how the bidirectional bridge kind of works. So I hope that made sense. Right, so what is working out of the box? So the summary, description, comments, and attachments I couldn't show you in lieu of the time, but all these things are automatically syncing bidirectionally between the two systems. And basically, this is what the tool is all about. This is what Exalate does, and this is what it's all about. Right, so the last piece I want to quickly show you is to add that automation. So some of you might have noticed that everything is automated anyway. So what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is that initially, I had to come into the panel and hit a button to do the initial push. Let's automate that piece. So for that, I'll come into my Salesforce. This was the screen where we started the connection from. I'll hit edit on the connection. And this would take me into the script stream, which I'll explain in a minute. But the automation gets created via the triggers. Right, so let's create a trigger. Now, triggers are very powerful in Exalate because you can create a trigger on any Salesforce object, even custom objects. So even custom objects that you have will appear in this list, and you can create a trigger there. Now, what is a trigger? A trigger is literally just a status query. Not a status query, just a query I meant. So what I've just told Exalate right now, that didn't go very well because I didn't close it well. It does like a syntax check at that point. What am I missing here? Okay, typing it again, hopefully should do the job. Right, so what I just told Exalate is to look for any create or update events on the case object which match this criteria. Now, the criteria is simple enough. It's just status equal to new, but it could be as complex or as simple as you want it to be. So I hope it's kind of clear what's going to happen now. So what's going to happen is that any cases that I now create will automatically be in the new status, right? That's where the ticket starts its life from. Now, that would mean, yeah, so the status is new. So that would mean the Exalate trigger should now pick this up and automatically send it across to Jira. So no manual actions required. Actually, this Exalate panel is just a visual component. It's like a lightning component in Salesforce, which you can remove if you want as well. Right. So yeah, that's the automation piece. Everything else we spoke about remains the same, right? So the ticket gets created, the bidirectional is happening and all that. I'm just going to move this here. Right. So that is about adding a trigger and adding some automation to this piece. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into how this all works. How was it that I was adding a comment here and it was going there? I was changing the summary here, it was going there, right? So at the heart of Exalate is two scripting windows, like two scripting sections, you can call them, the outgoing and the incoming. Now, this is the piece to understand. Each side, Salesforce as well as Jira, has its own outgoing and incoming scripts, right? So whatever leaves one instance, so whatever is outgoing for one instance becomes the incoming for the other instance. So each side will have to configure that to get that going. If we take a closer look at what's happening in the outgoing, firstly, we're only dealing with the case object. And what I'm doing is I'm picking up a lot of different data points from my case, like subject, description, comments, attachments. I'm picking all this data and I'm packaging the payload into a variable called replica. This replica gets prepared on this side and then gets sent over to the Jira end. I'm going to switch over to the Jira end for a second. So on the Jira end, obviously, this will become the incoming sync, right? Where you would start unpackaging that replica, that payload, and start assigning it to your ticket fields like issue summary, issue description, and all that. So at the heart of this integration is understanding that one side packages the replica, the other side unpackages it essentially and starts using the payload from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Majid, for setting the context and setting that up. That's great. So yeah, use case one, let's dive into this in a bit more detail. So yeah, cases will be created in Salesforce. Of course, you don't want all of them created in Jira. Only a subset of them will need to be created as bugs in Jira. So you've got the two tickets then coexisting. Of course, you want to sync status, priority, along with a lot of other cool stuff as well. And then we're going to show you here too, in this use case, custom field syncing, which can be really important if you want to do like reporting from both tools as well. So yeah, back to you, Majid.
Thank you. So we've decided this, we've broken this next portion up into a series of exercises, which we'll do some of them manually, some of them with AI, and we'll see how it goes. Right, so to build up on that basic bridge or that basic bidirectional integration that I already have, what I'm going to, the use case dictates that we need a Jira bug. Right? So some of you might have noticed already that the Jira ticket that got created as a task out of the box, like without any configuration. So the requirement now is to get it created as a bug. That's the first thing. And secondly, we want to populate these custom fields. Let me just show you. So I've got these custom fields called remote number and remote link out in Jira. And it would be nice that when Salesforce creates a ticket, these get automatically populated with the references back to the Salesforce case, right? So think about it for a second. Where would I be making this configuration? Yes, on the Jira side and on the incoming part, because Jira is the receiving party in this transaction. Right, so let's go to the Jira side and let me just simplify this a little bit. Let me get rid of the comments. Right, so lines 1 to 4 is where you kind of decide which project the issue gets created in and what the issue type is. So right now it's a very simple use case. We just want to create it as a bug, so I edit that. And secondly, we need the custom fields populated, right? So one was called remote number, and I'll populate that with replica.key. And the other one was, that didn't go well, remote link, and we'll populate that with the issue URL. Just a very quick word on what I'm doing here. Remember, replica is always the payload. It's always arriving from the other side. So I pick up the ticket number from there, the key, and I assign it to my custom field in Jira. As simple as that. And similarly, the issue URL is automatically a variable which contains the URL of the source ticket, and that gets populated here. Right, we make the changes to our scripts. The customizations, let me check for spelling errors and stuff. Looks okay, I think. Yeah. All right, and now this time when we create a case, what do you expect to happen? Yes, this should be created as a bug. And would it be automatically transferred over? Well, I hope so, because remember that my trigger is still in place. The trigger is new, so it should automatically be picked up and taken across to the Jira end. Right, let's just refresh to see if we've got a reference back. Cool, we've got a reference back, and that's CM2354. Let's click it. Again, I'm just going to move it to the Jira tab. Right. Okay, so it got created as a bug. Nice. And you got the remote number and the remote link to the Salesforce case. So you can just click on this link and it goes straight to your Salesforce case. You already actually have this information within the Exalate panel. There's a UI element called the Exalate panel on this side as well, but it's good to put it in custom fields for reporting purposes, filtering, and all the jazz stuff that happens in the Atlassian world. Right, I hope that made a little bit of sense to everybody. Do let us know in comments if something is not making sense. The second exercise, what we want to do is we want to go the other way around. So now the Jira ticket has a reference to the Salesforce case, like a visible reference, that the link and that. Now, what we want to do over here is we want to populate the Jira bug field. So this custom field within Salesforce with the key or the ticket number from the Jira end. So this time I'll be manipulating the incoming sync on the Salesforce side, right? And I think the line would be simple enough now. So it would be called, so you need to use the API name, but the Salesforce folks amongst us would know this already. And all you need to do is just populate that with the replica.key. I'm just double checking my spelling. Okay, we publish that. And how do we test it now? Right, yes, we need to update the Jira end. For anyone who did not understand why, so the idea is that, okay, you updated the scripts in Salesforce, but unless a new transaction comes in, those scripts don't get triggered. So once you add the comment obviously will arrive, but the new scripts come into action as well, and they populate the ticket number automatically on the Salesforce side. But think about this quite carefully. Will this always work? Now, what I mean to ask here is that, okay, you updated the Jira side and that adds the ticket number on the Salesforce side, but that's not very ideal, right? Think about it. A support case comes into Salesforce. The agent either escalates it over to Jira or manually or automation, whatever, the Jira ticket gets created. But right now you need that reference back in Salesforce so that the Salesforce agent has a visual confirmation that, okay, the ticket has been created in Jira, right? Makes sense? It's just nice to have. So it's a very nuanced problem. And for this, we have a function called sync back within Exalate. Now, remember I was manipulating these lines earlier? What these do is they decide the project and the type of issue that gets created. Now, what I've just said over here is that once the ticket creation happens on Jira, send a sync back, send a transaction back to Salesforce precisely for this purpose so that we can transport the ticket number back, and then the Salesforce scripts would come into action. Okay, let's give it a shot. So this time when I create a new ticket, I'll call it test 4 for the lack of a better word. And again, I hope the trigger comes in, picks it up, goes over, creates the Jira ticket, but now the loop is closed. Once the Jira ticket gets created, it sends the sync back event, and I'm hoping that my Jira bug field gets populated automatically. Yeah, nice. So now you don't even need the Exalate panel. I mean, it's good value addition, but you have this field and it gives the agent visual confirmation that, yeah, the ticket is created, the reference is there, and you can move on from there. Slightly tricky example, but I hope it made sense to everybody. Right, so we're going to continue to build on this use case, but now the examples get slightly more complex. So hopefully Usman can help us with the AI assist to make our lives a little bit easier here.
Yes, thank you very much, Majid. So thank you for showing the old school way of scripting in these two previous exercises. I'll be showing you how to do all of this stuff again, but with AI. So what's our new AI assist? It's one of our newest tools within Exalate. You can see it previewed right here in the screenshot, and you might have seen it as well during the exercises when Majid was showing it. So we have a new chat box beneath the scripting window where you can ask any kind of prompt to the AI. And what will the AI do? It will go in your prompt. It will try to see what for kind of requirements you have, and it will fetch the necessary snippets to add to your script. And of course, it's neatly integrated in the admin console. You can update your incoming and your outgoing scripts with it. So let's see it in action. So this exercise will be creating a simple sync between our Salesforce and Jira. We'll be syncing these 5 fields on my Salesforce: type, case reason, case number, account, and contact, to 5 different custom fields within my Jira. So to give you a good overview of this, we have the case number, account, contact, account, type, and case on my Jira case ticket, and on my Jira, we have these 5 predefined custom fields. So let's go ahead. And as you kind of already heard, we're trying to send out fields from our Salesforce to our Jira site. So instinctively, you should know that you should be sending data out. So we're going to go into the outgoing sync of our Jira. And instead of typing like Majid did, I'm going to go to this nice, neatly designed chat box. And I'm going to, just for time's sakes, I'm going to copy paste in my prompt. I'm going to press submit. So what have I done? I just sent a simple prompt. I want to sync these 5 values from my Salesforce. So type, reason, case number, account ID, and contact. And that's it. I press submit. So it's what it's doing in the background right now. It's trying to find out what for code snippets to add to my current script. So let's take a quick look. We see that it has taken a few seconds for the AI to output this code. We see that it has added 6 different lines, including a comment. It all looks good to me. So I'm just gonna insert the changes. All right, you're added right here. I'm gonna press publish. Always never forget to publish. So on my Jira site, instinctively, we should go into our incoming sync because we want to receive this data. So I'm going to scroll down on my incoming sync. So what do I want to have? Once again, I have this prepared with my copy pasting. So I'm going to press submit. So what am I defining right here? I have 5 custom fields on my Jira site: SF type, SF case reason, and so on. You get what I'm trying to say. And I also mentioned that on my Salesforce side, I have these names defined. So let's wait maybe a few more seconds, and let's see what our AI assist will output on this side. So for some funny reason, it has added a nice white line to add more consistency within the script. So let's see, the main code is right here. We have these 5 extra lines of code where it has taken all the data from a replica and adds it all to these custom fields.
It looks superb, to be honest, Usman. But I think just a little bit of value addition to the first couple of lines. So the type and reason are drop downs in Salesforce. So that would send over a JSON object. So I think if you dereference that with dot value at the end, I think that'll do the trick. But this is really awesome. So
yeah, indeed. So what it has done, I think, it's gonna give me the whole JSON object. So I will have to reference the value field within. So something like that, I'm guessing, and that's
precisely.
yeah. So actually, this is quite a good example as well to show that no any AI is actually perfect. So there's still some little mistakes that it can make. Don't forget the little disclaimer we have right here as well. Just like ChatGPT, just like Gemini, they all make those little mistakes. So let's see it in action. So I've published on both sides. On my case, I have these fields. So let's go ahead and edit those. Contact name, I'm just going to select some random value, Tom test, why not? Type, electronic, case reason, installation, and the case number is already over here. So let's press save. So it's already synced. So on my Jira site, any moment, I should receive these 5 values within my custom fields. Okay, perfect. It has arrived. So it updates in real time, by the way. No need to refresh anything. Perfect. So,
Awesome. If some of you are wondering why the contact and account are like IDs, it's a Salesforce specific thing, right? We'll get back to that in a second.
all right, thank you very much. So let's go to the next exercise. What are we trying to do over here? So we want to add a bi-directional mapping to our Salesforce Jira integration. But for this to work, we need a status mapping. We want to map these three values on our Jira side to these three values of our Salesforce side, because they are doing kind of the same thing, but they are not named the same way. But what is a status mapping? What is it actually? What is this thing? So Majid, can you please help us?
Yeah, so the problem Usman is facing is something we face every day, right? It's two distinct work systems who have its own distinct data set, right? So right now the ticket is in new status in Salesforce, but there is no new status in Jira. Or in my workflow in Jira, I have to do. So you need some sort of a mapping out there. So we use hash maps extensively within the configuration to do these mappings. Hash map is just a data structure which has key value pairs. So in this example on the screen, the names of the people are the keys: Sylvia, Peter, and Jean. And the hair color is actually the value against it. So the magic happens on line number 8, where you reference the hair color map using the key, using the name. So you can think about Sylvia as the value being sent from Salesforce side. But I don't have Sylvia in my dropdowns. I have blonde. So I need that correspondence, and that line number 8 would do the trick to fetch the correct value corresponding to the key. I mean, this is what I expect the AI to do. Let's see.
All right. Thank you very much. So to give a quick visual view of it, we have this field right here, status. If we try and edit it, we see we have three values: new, working, escalated. And on my Jira side, we have on top, we have to do, in progress, and done. So it's a bidirectional sync. So let's go ahead and edit both of the incoming scripts on both sides. For simplicity, I'm also going to remove all these comment lines. All right. Let's prompt the AI. My incoming sync, I'm to add a status mapping. As always, I have my prompts already prepared. So I have simple prompt, just stating what I want in my status mapping. So I have the fields to do, in progress, and done. On my Salesforce side, I have new, working, and escalated. Create a status mapping for me. That's all I'm asking it to do. So what has it done for me? So I see it has created a status map, like Majid just explained, and it's going to reference it within the next two lines. Perfect.
Yeah, it looks perfect, actually. I am getting old school.
Don't worry, guys, not gonna get your job yet, but it's doing great work for at the time being. Yeah. So we have completed the incoming sync on our Salesforce side. So let's go to the Salesforce side. So let's go to the Jira side. I'm gonna refresh my page for a moment. Okay. Yep. So just as always, because I'm a little lazy, I have all these prompts prepared as well. So very simple, just like the previous one. I have create a status mapping for me that says open to new, in progress to working, and done to escalated. All right. I think I have copy pasted in the wrong prompt, if I'm not mistaken, actually. Or is it
Yeah.
me?
No, it's the other way around. It's the other
The
way
other way
around.
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a moment. Cool.
All good. It's
That
at
was
least not an AI mistake. It's an Usman mistake.
It's my mistake. So actually, this is a very good example as well. I have so the AI will kind of know what you want to do, but it's always dependent on the prompt itself. So if your prompt is not good enough, it won't give you the code needed. it can't, it doesn't have like a glass bowl to look in your mind to see, oh yeah, that person wants this. It always will be based on your prompt. All right, let's wait a moment. Okay, I'm gonna insert these changes.
Yeah, there's a slight change you would want to make though. Can
Yeah,
you?
it looks like
Right.
it has them the other way around, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the mapping is correct. What
Oh,
I'm looking at is, yeah, the mapping looks absolutely correct. What I'm looking at is line number 32, because replica.status, the variable that is being sent from the Salesforce side is with a capital S.
yes.
And when you dereference it, it is the dot value that you use instead of the dot name, as far as I remember. I think the rest looks good, to be honest.
So a
Yeah.
capital S and dot value instead of dot name. So
Yes.
perfect. Thank you very much. So once again, Majid, your job is not at stake yet.
Yeah, I'm feeling better now.
All right. Publish it as always. So let's try it out. I'm gonna start from my case in Salesforce. So I already have this in edit mode. So I'm gonna change this status to working. Why not? And press save. All right. So we can see this update over here, new to working. If I go to my Jira site, what I should see happening is this value right here changed to in progress. Oh, perfect. Let's see. It's we can see it has been done. So to check out the bidirectionality of this sync, I'm going to do the same kind of change. So let's do in progress to done on my Jira site. And let's see the change happen on my Salesforce case. So for this, by the way, on Salesforce, you always need to refresh your page. So I'm going to do that. Perfect. We see that has been changed from working to escalated. All right. So that was the status mapping. Let's go to the final exercise where we're going to do a priority mapping. So to explain the problem quickly, we have 5 different values for our priority. We have lowest, low, medium, high, and high. Those are 5 different values. But on our Salesforce, we only have 3. Low, medium, and high. So what are we going to do? We're going to map these two to the same value on the Salesforce. Same for high and highs. We're just going to map it to high. So to complete this, oh, maybe I can show you even on my Salesforce, here's the priority. So let's go and edit just 3 values, but on my Jira, I can have priority. I have 5 different ones. All right. So to fix this, I will have to go into the incoming sync of my Salesforce. I'm going to refresh the page for a moment. So on my Salesforce site, I should change up the incoming because on Jira we have 5 different ones and they should be mapped to 3 different values. So it's taking longer than expected. This refresh, I'm going to do it again. Come on, Salesforce, you can do it. Okay, perfect. We needed some little help from the gods right here, the Salesforce gods to help us get going. Okay, so we have this priority mapping that we want to do. So as always, I have a prompt ready. So it's very simple. Just create a priority mapping for me. I already know what I want to have on my incoming side of Salesforce. And I want to sync low to low, lowest to low, and so on. You get what I'm trying to say. So let's wait for the AI assist to do what I want. All right. So it created a simple mapping, just like the status mapping is very similar. And all right, insert the changes. And I think the code looks all right. So publish, and I'm going to go to my ticket in Jira, and let's try it out by changing it to lowest. So what we should see on the Salesforce side is lowest should be mapped to low. So I'm going to quickly refresh this. Perfect. And we see the priority set to low, as we would expect. So I just showed you the power of AI. So Majid, don't be scared. It still makes mistakes. So back to you.
Thank you so much, man. That was pretty exciting to watch. So in those 3, like quite, I wouldn't say very complex examples, but quite like examples that you come across day-to-day basis. I think there was one time when we needed to correct it. That's pretty amazing. Anyways, okay, so I want to circle back to that account and contact problem that we had. So on the ticket that Usman was sharing, this was the ticket. So the Salesforce account and contacts came over as references, right? So the Salesforce savvy amongst us would know exactly why this is happening. So the case object, the way Salesforce stores it, it stores references to different objects, right? It doesn't store the user-friendly names. Like what we wanted to see here was Magic Man and Tom Test, right? We wanted to see the user-friendly names sync over to the other side. So this is a little bit complex to do. So let's take a look at how we'll do that. So we utilize what we call the HTTP client. It's built into the Exalate scripting engine. And what it allows you to do is to make REST API calls to the issue tracker itself, right? So you can pick up this reference ID and make a query to Salesforce to fetch the user-friendly name. That's the idea of it. This is very, very useful to have. It's already authenticated, which is the biggest part because, yeah, you're logged in as the proxy user already. I'm not going to go into details of this, but again, for the Salesforce folks amongst us, you can go to the developer console, run a simple query, and you can easily fetch the name from the account table where you have the ID. Once you're happy with this, you pick up this query and encode it into the query URL that Salesforce provides. And that's it, basically. You run a get call to this endpoint, and you're done. Right, so let's see how we can get this done. So this was all the code that the AI generated. I'm just going to start at the end of it. I have these all these code snippets prepared. If we haven't shared that so far, can someone please share that in the chat? Right, so what I'm going to use is I've got this line here, and I'm going to explain it in a second. Let me pick up the account and let me pick up the contact. Everyone should have access to these as a reference for all the code that we've used within the example. But the AI code is not included, obviously, because that's generated at runtime. So yeah, I use the HTTP call, do a get call to a specific endpoint, fetch the name, and put it in a variable called account name and contact name, right? That's it, really. And let's publish this. Now, on the Jira side, I would need to do something, right? Because how Usman's AI generated this was Usman's AI. He owns it now. So how it generated was replica.account ID, right? So I need to replace the variable name. That's all really. And contact name. I think theoretically that should be it. Let's give it a test. So let's just update something. Right, why I needed to update something was so that a sync transaction gets generated with the new code. It sends it over to the Jira site, and the Jira site should hopefully receive it within the incoming. So let's see what happens out here. So yeah, this HTTP client is very, very useful because Salesforce is a series of like linked objects, isn't it? Like an account is linked to a contact, it's linked to an opportunity, it's linked to a case. So in order to traverse that chain using IDs, you would need to fall back on the HTTP client to do this. So as I said, all the code is available in the snippets. You can reference it later on.
Awesome. Thank you, Majid. That's great to see AI working in there. We've got another poll, which is going to be put on the screen in front of you already. So yeah, we really want to understand how AI has impacted your Salesforce and Jira experience. I think so far the guys have been able to show you exactly how it can be really beneficial and impactful for Exalate and the Exalate experience. But we're interested to know about your Salesforce side as well. So I'll give you a moment to answer that poll too. And thanks again for the questions. You've been keeping us very busy in the Q&A. There's been some really good questions. We've answered them a little bit, and we're hoping to get to them later on in the Q&A session as well. Okay, significantly improved. There's a few there, about 25%. Okay, awesome. Nice. We'll end the poll in just one moment. I think we've got quite a few answers in. But it's interesting. There's been a lot of conversation around AI, and with Exalate, we're getting straight to it and showing you the good stuff. So yeah, let's see. Okay, cool. I'll end the poll and then share it as well, I believe, as well. So you guys can all see this. If you've got any ideas around how you think AI should actually be used within these tools, pop it in the chat as well. It'll be interesting to start a conversation here. But nice. So appreciate that. On to the next use case, which is all about ticket visibility in this service management setting here. So for this second use case, when contacts are created under specific accounts in Salesforce, Exalate will create a user within JSM. Then that user will create a support ticket with that in that JSM, right? Then a case will be created underneath that relevant contact within Salesforce underneath that account as well. You can see the same logic applies. More tickets are created in JSM, and then the relevant cases are sort of replicated and kept within under that contact in the same account. Again, different businesses, different people creating these cases, creating these tickets, then being mapped to cases in Salesforce. This means that from the Salesforce window, from the Salesforce experience, you can see your accounts, your contacts, and what Jira support tickets have been created, what JSM tickets have been created in there as well. So I'll leave it over to Majid to go through a bit more of a step-by-step about that one.
Sure. Thank you, George. So essentially, we flipped the problem on its head, right? So this time, the support is happening in Jira Service Management. And the salespeople who are working in Salesforce need some visibility over that. So how do you solve this problem, right? So the salespeople would like to have a full visibility over the customer journey, over how painful the support tickets have been, how many interactions, 100 comments, 5 comments, what's happening, right? So the journey would start by us creating an account in Salesforce, which would have some relevant contact objects. And then, yeah, as George was explaining, this contact creation would trigger Exalate to create a portal user in a Jira Service Management project, right? This is the automation piece of this. What I mean by that is that if you have a service management project in Jira, you guys have something called the customers, right? The end users, the people who can actually log into your service portals and create tickets, right? So this user provisioning is what we want to automate somehow, right? And how we would do that, again, is via using our HTTP client friend. So what we'll do is we'll make just a API call, a post call to the JSM API and get that user created. Right, there's a lot of moving pieces to this, so I'll go slow. Let me know in chat if something doesn't make sense. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to start from Salesforce. I just created a connection from scratch while George was presenting. It's a default connection. So instead of syncing the case object, this time we need to sync both the case object as well as the contact object. Literally a copy paste, nothing special here so far. Right, but what additionally do we need to do? This time we need to have a trigger on the contact object so that as soon as a new contact is created within Salesforce, that should automatically sync over to the JSM side. And then we'll deal with the JSM side in a second, right? But we need this trigger for sure. So as soon as a contact gets created, it will sync over to JSM. Cool, let's publish this change. Right. Now, what do we want to do on the JSM side? I'm going to show you in a second. So on the Jira side, we'll come into the incoming. This time we do not want a ticket to be created, but all we want is this custom API call to run, which would essentially create a user on the JSM portal, right? Super. So far, so good. So the contact gets created in Salesforce. It gets provisioned in the Jira Service Management. Lovely. Let's publish that. What do we want to do further? What we want to do is, as soon as that user creates Jira tickets, we want those tickets to be picked up and sent over to Salesforce, right? So again, we create a trigger on the Jira side this time. I hope you're following along. So this one will be a simple JQL statement. And I said that anything belonging to this project, I should have filtered it out more, but yeah, just in the interest of time, let's sync everything from JSM back there. Right, so the last piece of the puzzle. When this Jira ticket gets synced over as a case to Salesforce, we want that association to the contact to be made so that will solve the visibility silo essentially, right? So for that, all we need to do is assign the correct contact ID to our case. And that would happen in the Salesforce incoming part where we will just assign. So it's based on the reporter from the Jira site, and we assign the contact ID based on that. Right, now, I hope I've kind of makes sense so far. I haven't really missed anything so far. So let's see if we can get this going. Right, so I'll start off with the top level hierarchy, account, contact, and then I'll go through the entire use case. Right, so we'll pick United Oil and Gas, UK. Right, it's a good account. It has no cases listed underneath it. It has one contact. So let me just create a brand new contact out here. I can use a lot of fields, but all I've used is the email field because that's the bare minimum that Jira requires in order to provision the user, right? Because it needs to send out the invite emails and all that. Right, what's happening now behind the scenes? As soon as the account was created, as soon as the contact was created, the trigger picked it up and it took it over to the Jira side. On the Jira side, it's not creating any tickets right now. It just ran that API call and hopefully provisioned a user within my GSM portal called Usman Shani, right? So Usman Shani now has an account on my portal. He got an automated email from Jira Service Management, so he can set up his password and all that. And now to close the loop, and this is the power really of this use case. When Usman goes into the portal, I know I'm doing it directly, like Usman would be properly signing into the portal and then doing it, but like just in the interest of time, I'm going to raise it on his behalf. Ooh, that didn't go well. I've got two accounts, but this is the one that are linked, right? Okay, cool. So let's just say final test. I hope you guys are following around. So what has happened now is that Usman, who was just recently provisioned, created a ticket in Jira, which the salespeople in Salesforce have no idea about at this moment, right? Exalate picks this ticket up, takes it to Salesforce, links it to the correct account, Usman's account, and it should be visible well under the organization, under the account as well, and under the contact. Let's see. Right. So the case object came over. And right now I'm at account level. So you have that visibility. And obviously, if I go into Usman's contact, it would have the case there as well, right? And now let's finally dive into the case itself. So this is the linking, the contact's already there, the account's already there, and that visibility is there. Obviously, if Usman creates 20 tickets now in JSM, they would all appear under his account out here. Right, we've still got a few minutes left. So I just want to throw something at the AI to configure this further and basically save my job because it was just doing too much. So I'm going to do like a really weird sort of a question. So, right, so this is what I'm going to do. So what I want to do is that if a ticket is an escalated status in Jira and it's highest priority. So if the priority is highest and the ticket status is escalated, I want to take some actions on the Salesforce side using that, right? So if the remote priority is highest and the status is escalated, add a comment. I want to add a comment to the case saying something is burning and change the priority to high. Right, I hope that was clear. So if the Jira ticket is escalated and highest priority, I want to add a comment in Salesforce saying something's burning, and I want to change the Salesforce priority to high. Otherwise, let's complicate this. Let's really trip it up. So otherwise, change the priority to low. Right, I'll stop here. I think because there's a lot to do here, right? So if somebody's following along, there's an if-else statement in there. There's a comment addition. There's a custom field change. So there's a lot happening within that prompt. I'm just quite interested to see what the AI spews out. Okay, so wow. Okay, so yeah, it's just looks absolutely correct. Actually, it's missing like a dereference at this stage. It's just a really small thing though. It's missing a dereference here, like the dot name. That for sure it's missing because status and priority are objects and they need to be dereferenced. But check this out. It automatically picked up the correct helper method. It automatically picked up the correct syntax. Yeah, shouldn't have done that actually, but okay. All right, let's give it a shot. Right, so let's do this. So if the priority is highest and the ticket is escalated, those two things should be enough for my code to trigger, right? Yeah, cool. And what should my code do? Two things I expect. I expect a comment to be added, and I expect the priority of the ticket to go to high. That's what the prompt said, essentially. Right, so we got the comment, something's burning, and the priority changed to high. Amazing, very nice. So yeah, to just close the loop, what it was missing was just a simple dereference. Otherwise, it was just absolutely perfect. So yeah, I can continue to build this on. This is like really simple to do now. So you have your whole use case built up in your mind, and with a series of prompts, you keep generating scripts, keep testing them, and keep enhancing it. Really cool stuff.
Awesome. Sorry, Majid had to find the unmute button. That's brilliant to see, isn't it? That's so amazing to just give it these challenging prompts and then it come back with those answers. So yeah, awesome. It's really interesting. So nice. Let's get into some of these questions. So thanks guys for posting these. We've been answering them a little bit as we go. But yeah, Majid and Usman are here to talk through these with us, and hopefully we can go through these. So. Question one, is it possible to connect cases with tickets so I can see what happens to them after I've escalated them to support? Awesome. Yeah, hopefully we also explain that as well, but only the status. And once the ticket is resolved, get a kind of overview of what solution is provided. So yeah, definitely. This is a bit of bread and butter as well for us, Majid. Do you agree?
Yeah, because it's again the customization of those scripts, right? So we won't carry over the entire payload, but we'll just wait for the status to change to a specific value. The last piece is a bit of a challenge, right? How do you like kind of summarize it automatically, unless there's a mechanism in Jira doing it? So Jira has its own AI, which kind of summarizes the tickets really nicely. So yeah, maybe you can pick that summary up and kind of transport that to the other side.
Yeah, take a collection of fields and post them as a comment or something like that as well. That could work.
Yeah, true.
Nice. Okay, question two. How will this benefit in distributing tasks within the team by different users within the company who doesn't have access to Jira? Okay, so is this more around from one side deciding the tasks of what's going to happen and assigning those to users, I guess, that don't have that access within Jira? Majid, what do you think? We've come across this one before, haven't we?
Yeah, but like the last part throws you off a little bit, right? So
Mhm.
who doesn't have access to Jira? So I think we would so think about the second use case that we did, right? So the salespeople in Salesforce have zero contact with Jira. They don't have any logins to Jira. But whenever the Jira support tickets are created, they get that view, that unified view on their screen, right? So that would be the way to do it, really.
Hmm. No, agreed. Awesome. Nice. Question three, I'm working in sales. How can I get benefited? So how would this bring value? I think really the first and actually the second use case that we saw as well with having that visibility over your accounts and your clients within Salesforce from that side. You don't want to be left in the lurch or something if they're creating tickets in Jira and you're not going back to Jira and checking that. So with the second use case, tickets are being created in Jira and then they're being created as in cases in your contact and account as well. So that's a key element, but it really just brings you together and brings you closer with two teams, right? So it helps you work better to get resolution times down, just more collaborative with your support so you can offer perhaps a better service to maintain that customer or win that deal. I think that's sort of my take on it. Majid, Usman, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, that's the use case we did, right? But there's so much more to it. So you can connect to a vendor Salesforce, you can connect to a client Salesforce directly, and then you would have that collaboration going. So within your Salesforce instances, you can be connected to 5 other different Salesforce Jiras or whatever, and you could have that use case going as well. So there's a lot that can be done. It just depends on the exact nuances of your use case, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Usman, anything to add there? I see you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I muted, but Majid actually summed it up nicely. So yeah.
It happens to me all the time. Majid always takes the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I think. So, but yeah, no, that's it. And as well, you can use Exalate to connect and integrate with different businesses, right? So Salesforce is in one company and Jira's in another. So don't forget it can work, in a cross-company situation as well, of course, not just the same business. So cool. Question four. Why didn't you add the replica.key from the Jira outgoing side? I thought you would have it in both outgoing and incoming. Majid, one for you?
That's a great question, and thank you for picking that. Time is the really the real factor. I should have shown that, right? So as soon as you create a connection, so out of the box, there are some fields which are always included in the outgoing replica. This was one of them. But great question.
That was really nice. I think that was from Robert earlier. Thanks for asking that. So like the status mapping, can I also map values in drop-down custom fields, for example? Yeah, I'll let you guys carry away with that one.
Yes, Osman did priority as well, right? So yeah, we picked up the type Usman and there was another reason, I think case reason.
So we linked up the priority and the status. So both are actually Dropbox fields, drop down fields. So yeah, you can do it with anything,
And,
I guess. Yeah.
yeah,
True.
and any custom field should work
Yeah.
exactly the same way with Exalate.
Yeah, awesome. Well said. Question six. So this is probably one for Usman. Does AI hold context among different types of tickets and its values? Like a prompt, use the map values between Jira and Salesforce with bugs, but map additional value resolved between Salesforce and Jira. Usman, can you make sense of that one?
Yeah, so use the map values between Jira and Salesforce for bugs, but map additional value resolved between Salesforce and Jira. So currently, the AI assist does not have the capability on really knowing what exact fields you have. So let's say you have a Jira drop-down box and you have 5 different values within those. Let's say customer mood, customer feeling, like no random values. I'm just trying to list them up. It won't know that until you list them up within the prompt. So also when you have a prompt within one script editor and you have one in another script editor, it won't know what you've prompted here and there at the same time. It will just keep the context from within your script window and your script that's already there and your conversation history. But
So
yes,
is the sorry, just to build up on that. So is the next step, are you already thinking about this? So if the AI was like Jira literate or Salesforce literate, if it could actually like make sense of my issue tracker itself, I think
yes. So we have
that's
these steps planned out for in the future to make it more aware of your project structure. So when you instead of let's say you're prompting and let's say you want to sync this drop-down value, instead of you having to list up all the values within, it will already know it. So yeah, we have these great AI capability upgrades already planned out in the future. Yes, correct.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, some really good clarifications to make there. That helps us visualize it more. Thank you. Cool. So yeah, conflict resolution. I was keen to get onto this one as well. This is always a hot topic when it comes into integration, but how does this tool manage conflict resolution and ensures data consistency across multiple systems, especially in environments with frequent updates and changing workflows? It's a great question. I think, Majid, we'll kick it off with you.
yeah. So for anybody who is not clear on what the question is, conflict resolution is like a very inherent problem when it comes to synchronization. And what that means is that if the summary field, let's pick summary as an example, if the summary field is updated on both sides simultaneously, well, what happens, right? So out of the box, unfortunately, what happens is that both sides overwrite each other, right? So the conflict resolution logic is not built into the core of Exalate, but we have scripts ready made which kind of read the history of the issue and pick up the latest update. So the answer here is that you would need some add-on scripts. So within the scripting window that we were working in, we just add the conflict resolution scripts, which work on the basis of change history. So the exact timestamp, whoever's the latest timestamp, that wins the race.
Awesome. Yeah, nice.
Hopefully that answers it. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, nice one. It's something a 0.0% chance of happening, but of course, it could. So yeah, I think that is the end. If it's question 8. So yeah, I think we're coming towards the end. They've got Majid's information, contact information here. We're all really keen to keep in touch, and thanks everyone for sticking around as well. I know we're just over time on the hour. So Majid's information is there. Usman is there. If you've got anything AI related, likewise with Majid, anything technical related, of course, just reach out to us. Alongside that, we've got a whole massive range of partners. I think well over 250 partners now, really well versed with Salesforce and Jira as well. And then, of course, last but not least, myself, my email's there. We'll pop a link in the chat. If you guys want to book a call with me, you can bring in Majid, bring in Usman, just have a conversation about what you thought of the webinar, how you use Salesforce, how you use Jira. We'd love to chat. But I think from the Exalate team, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.